Hi there, let's do the Astro weather for Monday, October 23rd. So, yesterday afternoon we saw Mercury moving to Scorpio, so we're going to start feeling that energy rolling in today. So, Mercury has been in Libra and has been wanting us to really focus on finding balance in the way that we communicate, looking for us to want to find things out, to want to be interested in how other people think and the dynamics in which the collective conversation happens. And so now we see Mercury moving into Scorpio, and it brings us a bit more purposeful thinking and a bit more of our activation in our intuitive nature. It does, however, bring up a bit more of a secretive nature. So we see that Mars is also in Scorpio, which is making us kind of move in secret. And now with Mercury moving into Scorpio, our communication is also going to be a little bit more secretive. So our actions and our communication is going to be reserved for those that we feel we have a deep bond with or a deep understanding with. So it really does make the more, I guess, surface level communication and surface level relationships not be as important with this energy. We also need to be aware that we might take some impulsive actions and that people might be a little bit more skeptical with that secretive energy around. So with Mercury in Scorpio, we start seeing those aspects rolling through at 3:12 a.m. with Mercury newly in Scorpio trining Saturn in Pisces. So while this is a busy and ambitious and logical kind of aspect, we will be asleep at 3:12 a.m. and this could bring us some really deep dreams into our subconscious nature, really kind of trying to unveil fears and wanting to look at them very closely, but being comfortable there, because remembering that Scorpio does like to be comfortable in the darkness and is quite comfortable looking at fears and those taboo ideals. So at 4:23 a.m., we then have the moon making an aspect with Venus in Virgo, so the moon in Aquarius. And we are looking at our relationships from the perspective of all parties, so both or depending on what the relationship is that you are looking at. And it's trying to make us be able to see the give and take. So see what somebody brings to the relationship. And it will be looking at what they bring by being their individual self, what their quirks are, what their specific flavor of human that they are, and how that lifts up the relationship as something that they bring to it. Then at 5:21 a.m., the moon squares Mars. So this is moon in Aquarius, Mars in Scorpio. So while this will be an excited energy with that Aquarius going on and Mars wanting to take action, it can be quite argumentative because Aquarius wants what it wants, and Mars also wants what it wants. So these two energies also created an imbalance with the masculine and the feminine energy. So the energy of wanting to take action and the energy of emotion, very unbalanced here. So that's where these arguments come from. And it is like that Aquarius energy of rebellion and wanting to do things quickly and being able to adapt to sudden change is really fighting that intensity and deep idea of Mars in Scorpio, who wants to take the moves and is passionate about taking the moves, but wants to take them slow and controlled. So it's a bit of a fight energy that we're waking up with on Monday morning. So at 10:46 a.m., there is another semi-square aspect. So we were seeing a square aspect at 5:21, and at 10:46 we see a semi-square aspect. So this is between the moon in Aquarius and Neptune in Pisces. So this is really a rebellious nature and wanting to be your authentic self, facing off against a softer, deeper emotional side. So there could have been something come up if you were asleep in your dreams, or something coming up early morning in that square aspect that now is really facing off against our emotional needs. And we might see that we are coming up against someone who wants to move quickly through the emotional space, But being that we are dealing with Neptune in Pisces, we're going to want to take our time with it because that's quite a passive energy. So then at 11:20 a.m., we might find that that has brought up an underlying issue because we see an aspect here between Venus in Virgo and Pluto in Capricorn. And so that underlying issue that we may now be seeing due to those squares this morning is something that we don't want to face. And it's likely to be around someone not showing up, not doing their part, not bringing to the relationship dynamic what we need them to bring. And this is Pluto in Capricorn wanting us to take a look at that from the idea of learning the emotional lesson for us. So looking at how that affects us and wanting us to work on it, wanting us to move forward and work on it. Capricorn being very disciplined and very work focused. So then at 1:26 p.m., the moon's going to square off against Jupiter. It's a square day today. And this is where we're going to find that rebellious action that we need to take to solve these problems is really wanting to fight the urge to not do anything about it. Okay, so Jupiter in Taurus wants us to be lazy. It doesn't want to deal with any of that stuff. It's abundance. It's sit on the couch and eat a bag of chips energy. It's not rebellious emotion. Let's go deal with the problem. So this is going to really bring up kind of that fight energy internally. It's going to be like, oh, I need to deal with this, but oh, I can't be bothered. It's also not a good time under this aspect to sort of take any big risks involving logic, like no gambling, no big purchases, because our emotional side and our logical side is very unbalanced toward the emotional nature. So our emotions are likely to get involved in a situation where we need logic instead. So that is, again, that imbalance between the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Then at 2:11 p.m., Mercury comes in and makes an aspect with Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury being in Scorpio, this is likely to be an intense communication, and it's going to be trying to work with our softer emotional nature now. So it's going to give us that want to get to know somebody on a deeper level. So if we've had these issues and these fights come up earlier in the day, this is the energy that's really going to make us want to get to know what makes them tick, want to get to know what their dreams and fears are. So this could also be with yourself. So these squares could have really triggered an emotional reaction that then you want to take a look at and see, well, why did I react that way? What is the emotion that I need to look at? Why am I feeling that way? And that Mercury in Scorpio really wanting to do a deep dive on that emotion. Okay, then at 3:17 p.m., the moon's going to quincunx Venus. And so this is moon in Aquarius, Venus in Virgo, and this is an annoying compromise needing in that relationship. So while you were taking that look into the softer, deeper emotional side, you might have uncovered someone not showing up, someone not being emotionally supportive, someone allowing their fears and addictions and delusion to cloud the way that they see. This could also be you. You could be the one dealing with someone coming in and saying, hey, you are not showing up how I need you to. So this is that energy of being able to accept that everyone is different with that moon in Aquarius. It really does bring out that idea of noticing how our individual behavior affects the collective and also how the collective affects our individual behavior. So it's a really good energy to be coming in here asking for a compromise, specifically with Venus in Virgo, who is quite discerning and who is quite critical. So just be aware of that critical nature also, because we can either be too critical towards ourselves and come out of this feeling like we have failed in a way in our relationship, or we can be quite harsh and critical on what we expect of other people. And so the moon in Aquarius really coming in there to support the idea of being able to see this situation or this issue that has arisen throughout the day from both of the perspectives and not being overly critical on yourself or on somebody else, but looking for a compromise where everybody feels like their needs are met. So I hope you have a good